So growing up a lifelong DC sports fan, it's still a little bit difficult for me to reconcile what I'm about to say. But I've been inspired by a cowboy. Hey everybody, it's EdTheTrainer. And I'll tell you about it next, coming up on this week's Tips on Tuesday. My family and I, for several years, we've been big fans of the show called A Football Life on the NFL Network. It's a show that tells the backstory of some of the more well-known NFL players, the legends in many cases, that have stories that many of us probably didn't know. And the most recent episode of which is the Tony Romo story. And most of you, if you're familiar with the NFL at all, you know Tony Romo was a no-name who came out of college and got a couple of breaks and became the Cowboys' all-time leading passer. But long before he ever got a shot with the Cowboys, he was a high school athlete, a star athlete in both football and basketball, who had to come to terms with the knowledge, really the realization that he wasn't going to make it as a basketball player much beyond high school. And that if he wanted to go and play Division I athletics, he had to choose football. So he wound up landing at Eastern Illinois University on a partial scholarship. It's the only place it would have him. Only then to sit the bench for his entire freshman year. He didn't even get a sniff at any playing time. And his coaches, in fact, came to him at the end of the season and tried to convince him to switch positions. They wanted him to be a tight end because they didn't think he was talented enough to be a quarterback. And Tony said, listen, give me a shot here. If I come back at spring practice and you don't think that I've improved at all, then I'm willing to have this conversation with you a little bit further. And it was that point, Tony says, that a light bulb went off, a switch was flipped. And that he realized if he wanted to accomplish his goals, he had to put in the work and be dedicated in order to achieve his dreams. So, of course, the next spring, he came out and flashed the brilliance that many of us know now was Tony Romo's game. And he became one of the all-time leading passers at the university, to the point where he really fully expected to go fairly high in the NFL draft, which he didn't. He wasn't drafted at all and wound up signing an undrafted free agent contract with the Dallas Cowboys. And he sat for 3 seasons with the Dallas Cowboys, first as their third-string quarterback, then as their second, lasting 3 years only because Bill Parcells, a living legend at coach at that point, recognized something in Tony's work ethic. And when he finally got a shot 3 years in the second half of a game the Cowboys were being blown out, it was a pretty inauspicious experience there too. Romo threw 3 interceptions. He threw 3 touchdown passes as well, although one of those was to the Giants for a pick 6. But it was a disaster from the start, and the remainder of the season didn't work out all that great, but he stuck to it and he worked his tail off and wound up, as I mentioned a little earlier, being the all-time leading passer in Cowboys franchise history. Now, the point of this story, at least what I took away, is that it doesn't matter what other people say. It doesn't matter what other people tell you you can't do if you're dedicated, if you stay persistent, if you stay dedicated and hungry, you can achieve whatever you'd like to achieve. And it doesn't matter the failures, it doesn't matter the hurdles you've tripped over. If you continue moving forward, you always have a chance. And at the end of the show, something that Tony said in really what was his retirement speech struck me. He said, we all worry about the battles across from us. In football lingo, the person across the line on the defense, in his case. But it's really the battle inside of us that is most important. And once you've won the battle inside, the battle across from you is no longer important. Let that sink in for just a minute. And understand that whatever you've been through, the battle inside of you still can be won. The battle inside of you is dependent on you overcoming your difficulties, you being persistent, you not giving up. It's always a battle, you versus you, not you against anyone else. Overcoming the battle inside. That's what I want you to focus on this week. And what can you do to move forward? The first thing really is to cut the cord on that anchor that's been holding you back. Thanks for joining me for a couple of minutes here today, guys. I really appreciate your time. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you soon.